This is part one of the Kennedy Kookers series, which will talk about the primary Kennedy Kooker, the fuels that it uses, how the stove or the cooker is assembled for transportation and storage, how it comes apart, how it's put together, and how a fire is lighted in it. The fuels that can be used in the stove can be virtually any sort of wood, rolled up cardboard, paper, wood scraps, construction debris, anything that will burn as a normal source for a fire, for a campfire. We happen to have some large pine trees in our yard. Pine needles will start a fire almost like gasoline. They're very, very flammable, and it doesn't take much to start a fire. Pine cones, 3 pine cones of this size are just about enough to boil a full quart of water with the efficiency of the cooker. Here's some oak chips that are left over from a little construction project that we have. They work very well. This is some local manzanita. Once again, just about any sort of wood will work in the cooker. This is the cooker assembled, and I'm going to back this out just a little bit here and I'll pull it apart. The can on the side here has some water in it. When we get to that point, I'll put some water in it. Let me set this and I'll take the cooker apart so that you can see the various parts. As it is assembled right now, once again, it's for storage or for transportation. This wire bail locks the stove together. It's actually 3 parts. By squeezing the wire bail in the middle and putting it out to the edges, and remove the cook pot. This has had numerous fires in it, as you can see from the soot that's on it. The dirtiest part of the stove is the outside of this cook vessel. The next part of the stove, the important part that I made reference to earlier, is this shroud or flue. And this just simply sits on top. It's locked in by the ears on this wire bail when the stove is put together. It actually locks in and holds this from falling out of the bottom of the stove. It's not used in this manner, however, when a fire is made in it. So when the shroud comes out of the bottom of the main stove, it's unlocked. The shroud comes out, it simply sits on top like this once the fire has been started. I'm going to take just a little bit of this pine needle matter here. There's even a few green ones in there, but this many pine needles will start this quite easily. Find a match here. And once again, this will light just as easily on a windy day as a calm day. And as soon as those start to flare up, I'll put a pine cone in here and put the shroud on top. And as you can see, in just seconds, it's a full-blown fire. I'm going to go ahead and drop these other 2 pine cones in, and it will smoke a little bit more as they begin to ignite. And I'm going to put just a couple pieces of this oak in. The cook vessel is a 40-ounce can. It's a full quart of water. Pour the water in this. And to cook, it simply sits on top of this. The bail goes off to the side so that it doesn't get hot and burn your fingers. Because the air is restricted coming out through the shroud, There will be a little bit more smoke for a while, but usually that clears up. The type of fuel used will affect the amount of smoke that's generated. If you don't want to have as much smoke right off or begin the heating process quite as early, it forestalls the heating process, but if that cook pot is taken out and the fire is allowed to burn just a little bit more, then it will not smoke as much. You can see that when I lift it out, the smoking stops and it goes just to flames. Just that little bit of open burning without the cook pot in there reduced the smoke significantly. The efficiency in this Kennedy Kooker is obtained by the shroud, which keeps all of the fire right around the cook vessel. And you can see the fire down in there as it comes up right at the bottom of the cook vessel. So even if the wind is blowing fairly significantly, there's no energy lost as there would be in a campfire, or as is often the case when you see these stoves demonstrated, the base biomass stove that's on the bottom, and they have a cook pot sitting right on top with no shroud around it. That's fine on a calm day, but in the event that there's any wind, the energy is blown away from the cook vessel and where it's needed most or wanted most when someone is trying to boil some water.